Hey YouTube. Today I do sort of a video response to a video I watched the other day by one of my channels that I subscribe to. Gun Collector 007 made a video talking about carrying a gun to church. And he described an incident that happened at his church recently, and luckily it all turned out well. But you can watch his videos and you can hear the story he told. So that got me to thinking, should you carry a gun to church? Well, I say absolutely. I carry a gun to church. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the morals of this country have spiraled downhill for the last 25 years probably, and picking up speed every day. So the odds of somebody coming into church to either commit an act of terrorism or just to rob the place, because I'm sure everybody that's ever been in a church is aware of a few things. First of all, people are there calm with their mind on other things, trying to get their mind off the problems of this world, should be. But there's also every church I've ever been in, and I've been going to church my entire life. So over 40 years, there's been collection plates full of money, and everybody in there is facing away from the door. I worked with an old biker guy one time, and if you looked up outlaw biker in the dictionary, you'd see a picture of this guy. He was big, he had the long hair, the big beard, he had tattoos up one side, down the other. He had $10 worth of chain holding a wallet that only had $3 in it most of the time. But he was a good guy, and I told him on several occasions, if I busted into a place to do some harm, that he would be the first guy I shot, because he was the most intimidating looking guy in there. But he told me one time, never sit with your back towards the door. And every church I've ever been in, you're pretty much sitting with your back towards the door. Now, I carry in church, and I sit in the back corner. I sit in the back left corner, to be precise, because that gives me a better chance of seeing somebody if they do break through the back of the building to cause some kind of disturbance or to rob the place. Now, your good old armed robberies pretty much a thing of the past, it seems like. The church that I attend, and most churches probably, if somebody come in and needed the money to feed their family or pay a bill, I know our church would give them the money. But most of your robberies are going to be drug related and everything else. But now you not only have to worry about your good old fashioned armed robbery, you also have to worry about these crazy nuts just trying to cause terror, just a terrorist attack, even by Americans. Because we're so politically correct these days, we can't offend nobody, so we gotta let everything slide. But that's a whole different discussion. What I intended to talk about was, should I carry at church? And just like the old biker said, you're sitting with your back to the door, you've already broke rule number 1. So, yes, I do carry at church, and I do sit in a certain spot for a reason. Most people might think that I'm sitting back there so I can sleep in the back corner so nobody will see me, but that's not the case. But some people will say that kind of thinking is paranoid. And 25 years ago, I would say you're right. That would be paranoid. But listen up. I'm fixing to put new verbiage out. I'm fixing to make up a word here on the Foreman John B. YouTube channel. I'm going to call it pre-paranoid. That's right. You heard it here. Pre-paranoid. I'm going to be prepared. It may be borderline paranoid, but I would rather be prepared than be unprepared and be a victim that couldn't even protect himself. Now, the other side of that coin is when you're carrying somewhere like a church or a movie theater or somewhere like that, there's a good chance you're going to be one of the only ones in the whole building that is carrying. So now you've not only taken up the role of protecting yourself, you're pretty much the security guard for the whole building. If something goes down, you're going to be the only one that has any kind of chance of stopping it. So you have to think about a few things when you're going to carry to church, or carry to a movie theater, or carry somewhere to a restaurant. You're going to be, if not the only one, you're going to be one of the very few that are armed and able to do anything about any situation that may come up. So that brings on something else to think about. Can you hit proficiently with your weapon at 25 yards? Because in a terrorist type attack, you may have to shoot that far. There's some situations where if you shoot somebody 25 yards away, you're wrong. But then again, there is going to be times when that may be necessary. All these guns you see are unloaded and safe. They've been checked, so shut up. Can I hit something at 25 yards accurately with this CAR P380? CW380, excuse me? Absolutely not. But what I'm going to start doing is practicing and shoot a little further. Now, this Glock 17, I could probably do decent at 25 yards, and that's yet to be determined. I haven't really done a lot of 25-yard shooting, but I'm going to start. But I can't conceal this Glock 17. So, what would be ideal? Well, you're never going to be ideal. That's just a fact of life. This Glock 26, I can certainly hit better than I can with this CAR CW380. And I carry the 26 most of the time. I'll only carry the little 380 pocket pistol when I'm just running to a store or something and just too lazy to put my holster and everything else on. But that's something that you got to think about. Can you hit proficiently at 25 yards? You don't need to pop 2 rounds through the side of Sister Beatrice's head. That's not going to do anybody any good. So you need to think about your skills as a shooter, your practice habits as a shooter, and you need to make sure that you're not going to be a danger to innocent people. And you need to think about that anytime you carry a gun, and definitely if you've ever had to use the gun. So that's where maturity comes into play. If I had to make a definition for maturity, it would be the ability to see the consequences of your actions. That'd be the best definition I could give you. I'm making up words and defining words. This is groundbreaking Foreman John B. stuff right here. We have new verbiage added to our English language, and we're given homegrown definitions of other words. But you need to think about the consequences of your actions. So if you're not mature enough to do that, you need to really seriously consider whether if you need to be carrying a gun or not. Now, I myself believe that every law-abiding citizen in this country should carry a gun. That is, if their common sense will allow it. I will put it that way, to put it mildly. There's some people that I know that are not criminals. They're good people, but they really don't have the mental capacity to be carrying a loaded firearm. and I'm sure you know some as well. So think about that. You're going to be one of the few, if not the only one, that is armed in a situation like a church. And I know 25 years ago, robbing a church would be unheard of. And robbing a church is not really what I'm worried about. It's more of a terrorist thing. It's just a way to get on the news and make big headlines by doing something like that. So, pre-paranoid. That is the word of the day, boys and girls. But be prepared with your little 380s. If you know you can't hit anything at 25 yards, don't shoot at anything 25 yards. If you can hit 25 yards with a Glock 26, then I would say that's possible. No, you can hit with it from 25 yards. I'm going to start doing a lot more 25-yard shooting, just for the fact that you never know in a situation like that, in a movie theater, in a church, in a restaurant, you may not be able to wait until they're 7 yards from you. And that's where I do most of my shooting, is 7 yards. And that's where I think a lot of people probably shoot 7 to 10 yards practicing. So I'm going to step back and practice some longer range shots, even not with the 17, because I'm not going to carry the 17. I'm going to practice with the 26, with my Kahr MK9. I'm even going to see what I can do with this CW380. Now, a little update on the CW380. I made the video the other day of me shooting it. There was a few times it didn't go fully back in the battery. And then I shot it 25 more rounds after I stopped the video, and it did it to me 4 more times, or 5 maybe. Well, there's only really one thing that'll cause it not to go back in the battery, and that is the recoil springs. Now, this is a brand new gun. I didn't buy this off Arms List or at a pawn shop. This is not only a brand new gun, this is the second new gun. The first one I got wouldn't do anything, as I mentioned in my other video. So I went on and ordered from Kahr a new set of recoil springs. They was cheap. They were $4, I think, or $4.50. That's sad that they had to do that. And I probably should have called them and cussed them or something and made them send me some for free, but they don't wanted me to send the gun back and everything else. So if you have one of these, you'll notice I'm not going to take it apart now because it's kind of a pain. I'm running out of time. But there's the 2 recoil springs in here, and they're one inside the other, and that's a bad idea right off the bat. I'm not an engineer. As you can tell by watching this video, I am a wordsmith. I make up words and I define words. I don't engineer guns, but if I designed and engineered a gun, I believe even I can tell that that spring inside a spring is a bad idea. So I'm going to go on and put the new springs in it, put another 100 or so rounds through it, see what happens. I'll let you know what happens on this. But I'm thinking about just strictly going back to my Glock 26, maybe the MK9. I need to be more proficient at 25 yards, and I will admit that right up front. And I'm fixing to go out here right now and take a few shots to see where I stand. Thanks for watching. That's all I got.